What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Variety Views. I'm your host, the Variety Vendor, here to continue booking the era of Punk. Now, as we left off, we ended 2011 with CM Punk retaining his WWE Championship against Kevin Nash on the final episode of Raw of 2011. And Chris Jericho returned, and he was on the ramp, and Punk had his championship and he was celebrating, so it kind of looked like that is going to be Punk's new program. And that is indeed what happens, because on the first episode of Raw of 2012, Jericho issues a challenge to CM Punk. He speaks for the very first time since returning, or since we last saw him in 2010. So his first words in almost 2 years, and that is he wants Punk at the Rumble. Now, of course, you don't need much build up, because I think that people will buy the pay per view no matter what it is. Not no matter what it is, no matter what the card is, especially at the Royal Rumble, because the Rumble match is the selling point. So people are just going to they're definitely going to be intrigued no matter what. And Punk versus Jericho, I think it's a big enough match that you don't really need a huge, a convoluted story for it to work. So just let it be Punk versus Jericho at Rumble. And it's not Jericho, heel Jericho, it's just Chris Jericho going up against CM Punk. There's nothing heelish about him. And then you can do also, actually, you can even make Jericho be a heel and let him attack Punk at one episode, and then the episode after that, he can do like a highlight reel, and Punk crashes the whole thing and destroys the Geritron 5000 and destroy the set and everything, and that would add fuel to the fire. And even Jericho can bring up, Punk's past, and not just that, but also you can make Jericho prove to the world, like, I'm the best in the world at everything that I do, not just what I do. I'm the best in the world at everything. And even one of them is, you can have like a Fozzy concert, and Punk would, break the set and destroy everything. And one of the the members of Fozzy tries to attack Punk, and Punk hits him with the GTS while Jericho looks on. I think that those moments, I think, would be interesting, and this, it would make it into a fun feud that you would look back upon. But then we go to Rumble, and Punk goes over Jericho clean, and that would be the end of the feud. I don't want it to drag on, because the key to have Punk on top for a long time is you need to keep on giving him good storylines. Don't drag it out with with a single guy for like 3 months or 4 months. That's the main reason why Jinder Mahal is not working right now, is because he would wrestle the same guy for months and then would go on to the next guy with no interesting storyline going into it. But here, Punk faces Jericho. It's a dream match, sort of, even though they faced off against each other before. But now it's more of a dream match, because at this stage of the game, it's more intriguing to see. So, Punk goes over Jericho. Then after that, the night after the Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon puts Punk in a match at Elimination Chamber, and to defend his WWE title. And it's against, 4 other guys, that maybe you can put, Miz and Truth and whatever. But there's one slot that is a surprise. Nobody know who's it gonna be. So there are qualifying matches, but there's one final entrant, and he will be revealed at Elimination Chamber. So everybody does their entrances, and then the final guy, the guy who is going to be, locked in a pod, turns out to be Triple H. Triple H makes his return. His first appearance in about 4 months since Survivor Series comes out, and he's locked into a pod and he's laughing his ass off. And he is the sixth entrant because everybody's just so spent. And I think a great way to make this a fun chamber match is to have Punk go through the gauntlet. So you can have like 5 minute intervals between each entrant, and you can have Punk go over each one until you get to the final two, Triple H and The Miz, or Triple H and whoever. But finally, Punk, overcomes all odds except for one, and that is Triple H. Triple H goes over, wins the WWE title, wins number 14, and then he celebrates with the championship. So, but number 14 or number 13? I think it was number. Yeah. I think it was number. I think it was number 14. He would be 14-time WWE champion. And this would lead to WrestleMania. And at WrestleMania, it's going to be CM Punk versus Triple H. To end the feud, it's going to be a last man standing match. If Triple H wins, CM Punk will no longer face the world champion. Okay? It doesn't matter what brand he's in, he'll never face the world champion. And that's the whole story. That's the whole story building up towards this. Since the pipe bomb, Punk always said that I'm the best in the world. And Triple H here, he says, if you lose to me, then you never get to prove that you're the best in the world, because this championship, it's evidence that you are the number one guy. You are indeed the best in the world, and I've got it from you. So even if you leave this company, and go anywhere else, this stipulation is going to be hanging over your head. You are not allowed to face any world champion anywhere. So how fitting is it? The guy who's so arrogant, that says I'm the best in the world, but can't even back it up. To not be number one at your craft, to be not number one in the field that you're so passionate about. I got the keys to the kingdom. And at WrestleMania, you will bow down to the King of Kings. And Punk says, you will see a different side of me. I'm going to, beat you, Triple H, and I will take that championship. And not only that, there is also an extra stipulation, and that is, if CM Punk wins, he controls Raw for the next 90 days. For 3 months, he gets to control Raw. And, of course, we go to WrestleMania, and CM Punk goes over, wins the WWE Championship back, beats Triple H in a last man standing match, and I can imagine, this huge, arena. And I think this would be in Miami, Florida, right? I think it would be in Miami. Yeah, and this would be, WrestleMania 28. And imagine, the crowd counting along as Punk beats Triple H. So, that would be the last man standing match, and Punk would go over. And now he controls, Raw for the next 90 days. Next night on Raw, he relinquishes the WWE Championship and says, I cannot do both. I can either be the booker, be the controller, or be the number one guy. So for me to change things, I have to do this. I am relinquishing my WWE Championship, but this is not the last time. I will be controlling WWE. I will be controlling Raw, the flagship show, for the next 90 days. But once those 90 days are up, I'm going back to chasing this championship, and I will get this back around my waist very, very soon. But for the next 90 days, expect a very fun show. And, of course, there will be a tournament. There will be a tournament all the way till Extreme Rules, with the winner facing with the final match, the final the finals of the tournament being in a ladder match at Extreme Rules. And not only that, but on that same night, what does Punk do? He signs Brock Lesnar. And the idea being that he signed a match at Extreme Rules, and it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus the man that beat The Rock last night. And I would do that. I would have John Cena go over The Rock, have Brock Lesnar go up against John Cena at Extreme Rules. That's the match that is set for Extreme Rules. And not only that, but Punk also, he the week after that he would sign Ryback. Ryback, goes through a few guys. He would sign Seth Rollins, a new guy that he's like, I'm giving chances for those who haven't really gotten a fair shake in the WWE, and I'm bringing in new faces. So you bring in all these new guys, and he's giving shots for, guys who haven't really been given a chance, like Zack Ryder, gives him a United States title match at Extreme Rules, and Zack Ryder, of course, he would win the U.S. title at Extreme Rules, and I think you can do stuff with Ryder beyond that, as U.S. champion. I think he would be a strong mid-carder, and not only that, but you can even make the internet championship something. Ryder's internet title can be the focal point for the feud between Ryder and Ziggler, where who does have like who has the better show, internet show, and even you can get Ted DiBiase in there as well, because he had his DiBiase posse, and you can do that there as well. So there are a lot of things that you can do with that while Punk is overseeing things. He's bringing in guys like like I said, Ryback, who would beat a few guys, Seth Rollins, who would beat a few guys, and even talks with like the SmackDown general manager at the time would be Teddy Long, and he would tell him like, hey, I can, there are a few guys that I think would be valuable to you. Here's a guy that I think that you would have a lot to work with, and that is Dean Ambrose. There's this guy named Roman Reigns. I don't know if you know this guy, but I think he has potential. There's this guy Cesaro, Chris Hero. I don't know if you know this guy. Can you can you sign them to your brand? And then Teddy Long would see their stuff in NXT and FCW, and there would be video packages, and they'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, make it more. I think it would be a nod to hardcore fans, while at the same time, I think it would be enough for casual fans to go, oh, this is actually very interesting. I really want to know more about these guys. So then you'd go to Extreme Rules. Brock Lesnar would, of course, destroy John Cena, the same match that they had that year, except for the finish, and that is Brock Lesnar beating John Cena at the end. Because I think the key to that is that you're not killing John Cena. You're not taking anything away from Cena. If Lesnar is destroying Cena, and Cena fights from underneath, and then finally loses, he doesn't really lose credibility. People would actually respect him for his valor. So Brock Lesnar comes off as a monster, and Cena comes off as a courageous, tough guy. A guy that hung in there with Brock Lesnar. So, and he came off, a win over The Rock. That was the biggest win of his career. And then Brock Lesnar beats him, and, in his first match back, and Brock Lesnar is now a big deal. So you have two guys that are big deals in your company. And of course, I would have Cena go away for a while, kind of, lick his wounds and rehab, while Brock Lesnar goes off as well, but then he will come back later. I've got, big stuff for him. Chris Jericho, is one of the finalists, as well as Daniel Bryan. Those two guys are the final guys in the tournament to crown a new WWE champion. Daniel Bryan just came off a big match at WrestleMania 28, and everybody, is now in love with Daniel Bryan, but I will not give them Daniel Bryan as champion just yet. So I would have Jericho beat Daniel Bryan in the ladder match at Extreme Rules and become WWE champion. And at Over the Limit, CM Punk says that the night after Extreme Rules, he would say that Dan Bryan and Jericho proved to the world why they are the best in WWE right now. So I'm going to book another match for Over the Limit, and living up to the Over the Limit name, they will go to balls to the wall to the limit. Daniel Bryan versus Jericho for the WWE title in an Iron Man match. And you would have them go to, sudden death, and Daniel Bryan wins at the end. So it goes to the name Over the Limit, where Jericho's like, hey, it's a draw. He walks away with the championship, but then they call for sudden death. Then Jericho comes in, and then Dan Bryan, they have their little match for like 3 or 4 minutes, and Dan Bryan wins at the end, wins the championship, celebrates, and Jericho the next night feels that he got screwed. So then it would go on to No Way Out, where Daniel Bryan faces Jericho inside a steel cage for the WWE title, and Dan Bryan wins at the end. And the night after that, Jericho, still feeling screwed, goes up to Punk, and then he pretty much challenges Punk to a match at Money in the Bank, because the following week would be where Punk's reign over Raw would expire. And over these months, he's introduced new wrestlers. He's given guys chance after chance. Guys like Justin Gabriel, guys like Tyson Kidd, guys like Jack Swagger or Dolph Ziggler. All these guys he's given chances to, and they've flourished. And people have been watching these shows with great matches on every single episode of Raw, and not just that, but on pay-per-views as well. So the product has gotten better because of Punk, and Punk is on top right there. So it works in a kayfabe standpoint. So you would have Jericho versus Punk at Money in the Bank. Jericho goes over, of course. Then you go to Raw 1000. Raw 1000, at Money in the Bank, John Cena wins the Raw Money in the Bank, and he challenges Daniel Bryan to a match at Raw 1000. Also, another match for Raw 1000 is CM Punk versus Jericho, with loser leaves Raw, and Jericho loses that match at Raw 1000. Also, John Cena would win the WWE title from Daniel Bryan on that episode, making it a very monumental episode. And also, Brock Lesnar would come out, and it seems like he's all buddy with Punk, and then he turns on CM Punk, and that will be the match for SummerSlam. CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar, and you would plant the seeds from Raw 1000. And the whole idea being that at SummerSlam it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk, with if Punk wins, he becomes Raw general manager going forward. If he doesn't, Paul Heyman becomes the new Raw general manager. And also, the main event would be Daniel Bryan versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. So right there, you've got 2 big matches for SummerSlam. And I'll leave it right there. And that's part 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Punk being the general manager and pretty much taking over WWE for a little bit. It adds more to the story of the era of Punk. And I hope I made a very interesting show, because I do think that would have been so much better than what we got in 2012, and that was heel Punk. Even though that it's not a bad idea to have heel Punk, and heel Punk had good moments, but at the same time I feel like his title reign was kind of lackluster. So I hope I made a better scenario for him. And with that being said, rate, comment, favorite, how, please subscribe. And check out my next video. I'll be talking about something else.